This conference will now be recorded.
Now, okay, so hi everybody. This is Duncan with the ECES program, here with the Spring 2020 Pre-Departure Orientation webinar. If you are not here right now currently, that's okay. You are probably watching this through YouTube because we are going to be recording this webinar and putting it on our YouTube channel after the fact for anybody who cannot be here to reference any of this information later. Today, we're going to be going over the pre-departure process, which includes the visa process, buying health insurance, things to expect, all of this. And as well, we're going to be going over the orientation, as well as the first month of the program a little bit, and just a little bit of what to expect from the program. So for everyone who's here, I've mentioned this already, but please don't hesitate to type any questions that you have into the chat box. I'll be keeping an eye on it throughout the duration of the webinar, just to make sure that you don't have any questions. So first, what I want to show you is the ECES website. Most of you have probably already accessed this, especially because I mentioned in my acceptance emails to you to register on the website. So first, we're just going to bring this up really quickly. So this is what the website looks like. The address is etces.ff.cuny.cz. Also in all of my emails, there's a link to it in my email signature. And so up here at the top right corner, what you'll do if you have not already is you'll hit the login button. From here, through your application, you have already entered your information into our website. So what you're going to do is click New User Register. Through here, you'll type in your first name and your family name, as well as your date of birth. And this way, it'll match you up with the information that is already in our system. So please, if you have any issues with registering, you should send me an email with your full name. This includes middle names, just so I can properly troubleshoot, as well as your date of birth. Sometimes these issues with registering come about because of an issue of importing the day and the month of your birthday or something like this, or with improperly registering middle names. So it's important that you give me this information to be specific. And so we're going to log in really quickly just to show you what just to show you what it looks like once you are actually on the website. Of course, your information is going to look a bit different than mine, but that is all right. So once you log in, like I said, you're going to have a different screen here. From your main profile screen, you're going to be able to access tabs that have all of the courses that you're registered for throughout the program, as well as any activities you sign up for. And from here, you can also check your grades and attendance and other things like this. So this is going to be your home on the internet for the duration of the program. And over here on the left side of the screen, you'll notice a bunch of tabs. From here, of course, like I said, some of these you won't be able to see, but things like courses, if you click here, you'll be able to see the courses that we are offering, and that's how you will register for courses. And as well, let me bring you to the activities page. I'll be sending an email about this closer to the start of the registration period, which for activities will be January 6th. And it's okay if you don't remember this right now or anything. I'll be talking a little bit more about the activities in just a little bit as well. And like I said, sending an email reminder. But you can see which activities we're starting to add to our webpage. And so I don't want to talk too much about this right now, because like I said, we'll go over it a little bit in a little bit. Please, the most important thing to remember for the website is that you should at least register a week prior to course registration at the absolute latest. That way, if you have any issues with registering, or accessing the website, that you can email me in time and we can properly troubleshoot for you. And as well, you can email the ECES communal email, which is etces@ff.cuny.cz. Of course, however, if I'm in the office, it will generally be me responding to that email. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the visa process. So all of this is also in your pre-departure guides that I sent you in your acceptance emails. This can be a bit daunting, I think, so we're going to go over this point by point. First off is the completed and signed visa application form. We're going to be going over this, especially also point by point in just a second, so don't worry about this right now. 2 recent passport photos, and I want to be clear that this is not just you taking a picture of the picture that is already in your passport. These are 2 separate recent photos of yourself taken at a Shoppers or a passport agency place, wherever in your country that passports are issued or passport photos are taken. And it should meet the specifications of about 35 by 45 millimeters. And it very importantly needs to be a recent picture of you. After this, your original passport and 2 copies of the data page. Also, if you do need your passport for any reason, like to travel or anything like this, you can arrange it with the embassy or the consulate general to get your passport sent back to you while your visa is being processed. But you will need to send them your passport after the visa is done processing so that they can add it to the passport pages. And we generally don't recommend this because if you have your passport sent back to you, it can increase the amount of time of processing, etc. So really only do this if you need to, but other than this, original passport, 2 scanned copies of the data page. The next one, confirmation of study in Czech, has a little asterisk next to it because this is one of the documents that we'll be sending you. For anyone who's emailed me already asking about your visa documents, we are finishing processing them this week, and we'll be sending them out through expedited mail, either to your study abroad advisor if you're coming through a partner program such as Kansas State or SUNY New Paltz or any of the SUNY schools, or if you're coming from McGill, which we do not have a partnership with, these will be sent directly to your mailing address as listed on your ECES website profile. So keep an eye out for this. I'll talk about those a little bit more in a second, like I said. Confirmation of sufficient financial resources, bank account statement in your name, confirmation of accommodation, which again is like the confirmation of study. This will be sent to you by us. Criminal history background, health insurance contract, prepaid self-addressed overnight envelope, and a fee of 2,500 Czech crowns, which is at this time approximately 100 USD. So this will fluctuate a little bit. It is tied directly to 2,500 Czech crowns. So make sure when you're sending in your visa application that you check exactly how much US dollars or Canadian dollars this is. But please also, if you have any questions about this, you can be in touch with the embassy directly. But especially you want to make sure that you're getting everything right when you're sending in the visa application package to the embassy, just so that way there's like no delay or anything like this. So I just ran down all of those items pretty quickly. So don't worry about it because we're going to be going over each of them in depth in just 1 second. So we are first going to go over the visa application form itself. So over here, I have a pre-filled out form. And so I'm going to be going over what you need to put in each of these boxes and especially things to look out for. First off, you can find this form either on the website for the the consulate generals or embassies that you'll be applying through, or we also have a link to the blank version of this form in the pre-departure guides. And since I sent it to you as a PDF, you can click on it and it'll bring you to the empty form. But also, if you're still having troubles finding this form, then please don't hesitate to reach out, much like anything else. The first thing to note, of course, you'll have to put your name and your first name, your surname and first name. For everything, I guess, I'll preface this first off by saying that you should be using a black pen to fill out this form, and you should be doing this in block letters. First, surname. This is, of course, your last name, and then first names and given names. One thing to look out for here is that you should be including your first and middle names in this box. As middle names aren't really a thing in the Czech Republic, they will be filed under your first names, plural. So for me, I would write Duncan McLean, and you should write out your middle names here too. After this, date of birth. One thing to keep in mind is that in Europe, we always write the date of birth in the day, month, year format. So this right here is February 19th. Please write your date of birth the same. Otherwise, it can also screw up the application process. For place of birth, you should write the town and the state or province in this box. If you are from some place that takes a little bit longer to spell than Miami, Florida, then you can start eliminating any of these like spaces or things like this. But generally, this shouldn't be an issue. Country of birth, original nationality, and current nationality. Of course, you will know this. Use the 3-digit code for your country. And if you don't know what your country code is, either look it up, or if you're really unsure, email me. Sex and marital status are very straightforward. Father's surname, father's given name, mother's surname, and mother's given name. Like your name, you should include their middle names with the middle and maiden names with the given name box. And for the surname, please use whatever your parents' surnames currently are. So if one of them changed their surname after they got married, do not do it as their surname at birth, do it as their surname currently. For type of travel documents, for the overwhelming majority, if not all of you, this will be an ordinary passport. You will definitely know if you have a separate sort of travel document. After this, the number of the travel document and which country it is issued by. And again, for the date of issue and the valid until dates, this is going to be in the day, month, year format. But one thing to keep in mind is that you should be checking your passport to make sure that it is at least valid for up to 6 months past the end of the program. So after you hear this, immediately go check your passport and make sure that that it is valid at least for 6 months after the program. We recommend this just for legal reasons as well. The Czech Republic government recommends this, and if it is not valid for 6 months after, then you will have to first get your passport renewed. So please check this as soon as possible, especially if you got your passport some time ago. 17, if you reside in a country other than your country of origin, do you have permission to return to that country? Now, this is primarily if your permanent address is in a country other than the country that you have your nationality to. Again, you will most likely know about this. 18, your current occupation is a student for all of you. And for the employer, you'll be writing the information for your home university. So here, this pretend student that we have on this application is from the University of Miami. So we have included the University of Miami in full, as well as the address here and the telephone number of the employer. What you can write here is your study abroad advisor or otherwise the main reception or information number for the school. After this, employer after your entry to the Czech Republic is going to be the Charles University Faculty of Arts. That is the specific faculty that you have applied to through the ECES program. And this is our address, Náměstí Jana Palacha at 2 in Prague 1. Please write for numbers 20 and 21 this exactly as it appears here. You should not change this information from the pre-filled out form. For number 22, any previous stays in the Czech Republic longer for 3 months. This is only if you have gotten another visa, essentially, from the Czech Republic. But if you have stayed in the Czech Republic for longer than 3 months prior to this, please either let me know or find out the address for where you were. For number 23, if you were staying at our dorms, you should copy this information exactly as you see it here. This is the dorm address for the program. The overwhelming majority of you will be staying at the dorm. And especially too, we do recommend staying at the dorms, especially because it does make the visa application process a lot easier, especially if you haven't already gotten in touch with the landlord or anything like this. So we do recommend staying at the dorms and writing this. The postal address, if you are staying at the dorms, will be the same. And the visa is requested for 110 days. Please write 110. That is the amount of time that is in between the start of the program and the official arrival date. So please write, again, 110, not what is written here. After this, if you have any other visas, please include them here. And as well, please include any previous stays in the Schengen states for 27. These are, of course, on a case-by-case basis, and you will definitely know if these apply to you. For number 28, please check off study. You are coming here for a study abroad program, so this is very straightforward. After this, the date of arrival should be our official arrival date of January 27th. 2020, January 27th. And after this, the date of departure is going to be May 16th, 2019. So please copy those how I set them, not how they appear on this form. Place of entry in the Czech Republic will most likely be Prague by plane, but of course this is dependent on your ticket and where you choose. Often we do have students who will fly into Europe, into like Germany or Austria or something like this, and then take a bus or a train to Prague. Although plane is usually what students have. So please just write down how you're getting to Prague. For number 33, inviting legal or natural person, please copy this exactly how we have it. This is our Director of International Programs, and this is her office address. So please copy number 33 exactly as we have it. For number 34, manner of funding the stay, please copy this as well exactly as we have it. You will be funding your stay here, most likely through, for number 35, cash and credit cards. I say this mostly because we don't recommend using traveler's checks. They're really not used much here. So really it should be cash and credit cards, and especially if you check off credit card, then you should be including proof of this. And we'll be talking a little bit more about this with the proof of finances, which is also required for the visa process. You'll also need traveler health insurance that should be valid until after the end of the program. You should write here when your health insurance will expire. And likewise, we'll be going over the health insurance in just a second as well. And then for this second to last page, this is very specific. 36 and 37 are if you have a spouse or any children. Of course, you will know if this applies to you as well. And if not, you can just skip it. And then for this final page, Number 38, this should be your permanent address, your home address, wherever you consider your home. So like I said, for this fictional student who is from Miami, Florida, this is their permanent address, and so they've written this. For the telephone number, this as well should be what you consider your permanent telephone number that you can be reached at, and your personal email address. After this, also please make sure to read the rules of submitting this application. Most of it is, of course, formalities, but please just read it over on your own time just to make sure you know exactly who to fill out this form, etc., and what kind of information is required from you after getting here. Past this, you will go down here, and when you are completed with the form, you will sign and date this form. You'll be putting where you filled this form out, as well as the date, again in day, month, year format, as well as your signature here. And then please do not touch this box. This is only for whoever is going to be processing your application. So now we will continue with a few more of the documents. So of course, like I mentioned before, the document confirming the purpose of stay, we will be sending those out, and we are finalizing those this week. You will in the mail receive 3 copies of this, 1 copy in Czech, or sorry, 2 copies in Czech and 1 copy in English. You should take, of course, copies, photocopies of these documents. Please do this for everything in this visa application, just so you have extra copies at home you can reference. And as well, if for some reason anything happens to your application in the mail, you have backups and scans and things like this. We really do recommend that. But you'll need to send in 1 official copy of this in Czech, as well as a photocopy of it. And then you have the English copy and the other Czech copy for your own reference. The English copy itself is unofficial, and we include it just so you know exactly what we are saying on this document. Likewise, for the proof of accommodation, it is going to be the same. The only major difference for the proof of accommodation is we are going to have you fill out a few things on this sheet before you send it in. And so we will be marking it with these tiny sticky notes. And so, of course, you can see here that you should be filling out your nationality, your home or permanent address, your passport number, and your signature here. And so if for some reason the sticky notes aren't on the paper when you get this, then please let us know. But otherwise, it'll very clearly mark out where you should be signing, etc., and what you should be putting there. And so now we're going to go over the health insurance a little bit. So this, there are a few ways to go about doing your health insurance. So first, I've brought up, this is one of the health insurance companies that we generally recommend using, although in the pre-departure guide, we have included 2 separate companies. So Maxima is one that is often used by our students. So if you just go to this website up here at the top, then you'll be brought to this screen, and you can check out what kind of insurance options they have. Importantly, if you are doing another company, this is less important for Maxima, but if you're doing another company, you must make sure that your health insurance contract covers at least insurance benefit limits of 60,000 euros. If it is anything less than this, it will not be accepted. So please, please, please check before purchasing that your insurance benefit covers this at a minimum. And if you are unsure for some reason, like anything else, please email me about this, because we don't want to have you purchase health insurance and then have it not work or anything like this. So just for an example, we're going to go ahead and for this fake student, we're going to purchase this, this account. The important thing to remember is that you should make sure that the health insurance lasts for the entire duration of the program. So what I'm going to do is choose the start date for the insurance as the official arrival date of January 2020 on the 27th. And then you'll notice that the default will bring it so that it's only valid up until April 26th. So we're just going to have to upgrade this by 1 month to bring it to a total of 4 months so that it will expire after you leave the program. This is extremely important as well, that the health insurance expires after you have left the program. So from here, please on your own time, read up on different options that are offered by the company. So you know exactly what you're getting, of course. Like I said, the important thing is that the minimum, or sorry, that it covers at least 60,000 euros of insurance. And past this, you'll just have to include a bit of information about yourself, and then you can get to the insurance conditions and purchase this if you would like. The important thing, though, is that with the rest of your documents as well, you should be submitting this insurance policy in the Czech language. Now, Maxima, I know when you have finished completing the application, will offer you both Czech and English versions of your terms and conditions. But the important thing is that you have at least the Czech for your visa application. With any other document as well, if for some reason you don't have the Czech terms and conditions, you can have it translated into Czech, and of course you need to do this by a private translator. But generally, if you're purchasing from Maxima or CISI, which is another one of the companies that we recommend, that you will be getting the policy in Czech. So let's move on. After this, you'll need a criminal history background affidavit. For US nationals, this is extremely straightforward. You just need to print out and fill out this form right here, which I believe is also linked to in our pre-departure guide, as well as on most embassy and consulate general's websites. And so you will need to include this as a notarized copy, which is important, because you should not fill this out or sign it until you are in front of a notary. And so usually banks, your bank will have a notary, or otherwise there are plenty of private notaries that can be located, especially if you are in a larger city. But please do not fill this out until you are in front of a notary, and do not sign it until then. And they will generally ask you for identification just to prove that you are you, of course. And also for any Canadians who are listening or watching this, please right now, after you are done listening to this and taking part in this webinar, go to either the RCMP or to your provincial police if you live in Ontario or Quebec, and request a copy of your criminal background check. You will need to get this as soon as possible, and you will need to get it translated into Czech. And this can take some time. Through personal experience with the Ontarian police, I can say that this document can take up to about a month to process, so please do this as soon as possible. But for anyone else, like I said, any US nationals, you'll just have to fill out this form, and it's very straightforward. For documents confirming financial resources, this is going to be two things in tandem with each other. One is going to be a scan of your credit card, and this credit card has to be in your name specifically. Otherwise, it will not be accepted. And it will have to be a notarized scan of this card specifically as well. So you'll have to bring the card itself along with the scan to a notary, so you can do this with your affidavit. And after this, you will also have to do the same for a bank account statement. And now this doesn't have to be a monthly statement. This can just be a printed out statement. The most important thing is that it includes your accounts number, and that it matches with your credit card number that you are supplying for this. And as well, please make sure that you have at least $3,000 US in this account, although we recommend having more just in case there's any like fluctuation with exchange rates. And for anyone who, if this is an issue for you having this money in the account, the important thing is just having the money in the account as you print it out and as you file it for the visa application. So often what people will do if they are a little bit short in their accounts is they will request for a family member to deposit some money in their account while they print out the statement and then transfer the money back to them at some time later. But the important thing is that you have the money in this account and that it is tied to your name specifically. It is also okay if there's like a cosigner to the account, such as a parent or another guardian, but it can't just be your parent's bank account or anything like this. It has to have your name on it. Yeah, and I just talked about this. But yeah, specifically 3,000 USD is the minimum that you should have in the account. After this, just a few kind of like housekeeping points. You should submit 2 copies of the data page of your passport, and everything else you should scan a copy of and submit in addition to the original copy. And then of course, scan even more copies so that you have it to reference later, or like I said, if it gets lost in the mail or if there's any issue, you have backup scans and copies. This is extremely important. And especially too, we recommend using something like a courier service rather than just normal post, especially if you use FedEx or DHL or anything like this, UPS, just so that way you can get an expedited envelope and so that you can track it after the fact just in case anything happens to it. Generally with normal post, you can't track or anything like this. So we do recommend doing this. And as well, include a prepaid self-addressed overnight envelope if you are unable to pick up your visa in person. And so of course, this is only valid if you are not applying for your visa in person. And in fact, let's talk about that right now, actually. So let me just exit out of this really quick and find where I have this up. Yeah, so over here, this is where you can apply for your visa. So for any American citizens, there are a number of Czech consulate generals and embassies throughout the state. And so please look at where your permanent address is, which state it's in. So say you live in Illinois or Indiana, you should be sending your application into the Consulate General in Chicago. If you live in Florida, you should be sending it to the embassy in Washington, D.C. If you live in Vermont, it should be the Consulate General in New York, etc. So please check this list to make sure you know exactly where you are applying to through which Consulate General or embassy. As if you apply to the wrong one, it can greatly increase the time it takes to process your visa. As well, we generally do recommend going in person to apply for your visa, just so that way if there are any issues, the embassy staff can tell you ahead of time and can tell you in person if there are any issues. So you can make an appointment for this. And we really do recommend this if you are able to go in person. Although otherwise, like I said, you can send in your application through mail. Just please make sure that you are tracking it through a courier service such as FedEx. And this is in the pre-departure guide. So you can reference this list as well by opening that. And we have the addresses for all of the embassies and consulate generals. For any Canadian citizens, there are only 2 places that you can apply to, either the embassy in Ottawa or the consulate general in Toronto. Mostly, unless you live in the prairies or if you are in the GTA, you are probably going to be applying to the embassy in Ottawa. So please just as well check this list and make sure you know which you're applying to, and the same rules apply. So let's go back to the presentation. And so just to wrap up, again, here's the list of everything you'll need to apply. If you have any final questions about this as well, again, please email me about this sooner rather than later. It's better that you get your visa application as soon as possible, especially as it can take up to 2 months to process. So please get these out as soon as you get your visa documents. And if you have any issues receiving any of your documents, please do not hesitate to be in touch. I bet you're all waiting, but now we are going to get to the fun stuff after all of the admin and paperwork. So these are the official dates for the program. So like I said, January 27th is our official arrival date. And then right after this, for that first week, we're going to jump right into orientation. And we have a bunch of activities for you guys to help you get settled and meet everyone else who's in the program. So we're going to have, firstly for the mostly for the first day, it's going to be a housing tour as well as getting your student ID cards, your Wi-Fi working, etc., and have a welcome meeting where we kind of go over everything in depth in person, as well as what to expect out of courses, attendance lists, academic culture, etc. So we're going to be going into a lot of depth on these things. And as well, on Wednesday of the orientation week, we're going to be showing you a bit around the city. And we should have an ice skating event for you all at the Yershohozy Podiebrad TV tower. So this is a really fun event where we'll also be inviting Czech students, so you can meet a few local students here and try out your skating skills. Show off a little bit if you've been practicing or anything. And for anyone who doesn't skate too, this is a really fun event in that there's a little kiosk where you can buy hot chocolate and snacks and everything like this. So even if you can't skate, it's really fun to just come and hang out. Past this, the end of the week is going to be our orientation trips. So these trips are mandatory. The first day is going to be kind of the more fun trips, I would say, although I would hesitate to call any of the trips not fun. But the first day is a little bit more lighthearted in that we'll be going to one of Kutna Hora or the Pilsen City and Brewery or Karlovy Vary. And so we are going to be putting the information about these up on the website where you find the trips and activities. And as well, during the trip and activity registration period, you can sign up for which trip you want to go on which day. These trips are first come, first serve. So when the registration period for these opens, which like I alluded to before, is January 6th at 4 p.m. Central European time. You can choose which of these trips you would rather go on. So you'll have 4 options for each of these days. And the Friday trips are going to be a bit more somber and educational. So for instance, some of the options here are going to be the Theresienstadt concentration camp or the Lidice Memorial, things like this. Like I mentioned, we have a few options for each of these. So after the registration period opens for trips, make sure if you have something in mind that you specifically want to sign up for, that you do it as soon as possible. And past this, after the registration period is over, we will see anyone who is not yet registered for any of these trips and automatically assign you to a trip. And then for the next 2 weeks after orientation is going to be our pre-semester Czech language and culture course. This is going to be Monday through Friday, and these are mandatory. And so most of the days we'll be breaking you up into 2 sections, or rather about maybe 8 or 9 sections, but you're either going to have a morning course or an afternoon course. And so at the end of these 2 weeks, this will be a class that counts for a full 3 North American credits. So you are getting a full course load out of this course. And one thing to keep in mind too is that we do offer this as a pass-fail option, but please check with your home university to make sure that they will accept it as a pass-fail option. And otherwise, we do recommend taking this for the grade. And so after this, after 2 weeks, then the normal semester and courses will begin. And course registration will open up on December 2nd at 4 p.m. Central European Time. So please, we really do ask, or rather recommend, that you get in and you register as soon as possible, just to make sure that you are in as many courses as you need to get the courses that you want. If you have any degree requirements that you need to meet, especially if you are trying to graduate by a specific time or anything like this and need these to graduate. As well, please make sure that you are talking with your home academic advisor to make sure that any of these courses will properly transfer back if you need to have them count for any specific requirements. And if you go to the course page on the ECES website and you click on the courses that we have there, you can double check and find the syllabi for each of these courses. You can bring this to your home advisor and use this to make sure that it will transfer back. Please be in contact with them about this. And we really do recommend that ahead of time, you get more courses approved by your home advisor than you think that you are going to take, just in case you either get here and you get into a course and you decide that, oh, wow, this really isn't what I thought it was going to be, and you decide to drop. That way you have a few more courses that you already pre-approved just in case, so you can get into those courses and don't have to go into panic mode emailing your advisor back home. And otherwise, also during the course registration period, maybe you don't get into the course that you originally wanted. So getting more pre-approved is always recommended. And so the add drop period for courses will continue from December 2nd to Thursday, February 27th at 11:59 p.m. Please, I cannot stress this enough, after this deadline, after it hits Friday, February 28th, once the date has changed, any course that you were signed in for will be on your final transcript, and anything on your schedule will be final. You have all the way from the beginning of December to this date to add and drop courses, so please make sure that prior to this, you have finalized your schedule. And this is at the end of our first 2 weeks of courses. So you will have plenty of time to kind of try out the course and make sure that you actually enjoy it and it is what you think it was going to be. But I really cannot stress this enough, to please make sure your schedule is final at this period. And after this, please also note Friday, April 24th is our official makeup day. This day is mandatory. If you miss this day and you don't have an excuse such as a religious excuse, exemption or a medical exemption, then this will be counted as an unexcused absence. Then in mid-May, the semester will end, and like I mentioned, our official departure day is May 16th. So I alluded to this before, but course registration will begin on December 2nd at 4 p.m. Central European Time. Please make sure with daylight savings that this is 10 a.m. Eastern Time for you guys, but it will be 4 p.m. Prague time. Like I mentioned, spaces in the courses are given on a first come, first served basis. And if a course is already full, you will be put onto the wait list. So this means if anybody drops the course, then the first person on the wait list will be moved up and you will receive an email notification. And so if you are on the wait list for a course, we do recommend, if you are able to, during after courses start, to attend the course. And that way you can talk to the professor and see if there's any way of either you getting into the course through their recommendation, or that way, so if you do get into the course, you don't miss anything. But of course, if this conflicts with another course you are already registered for, then while you're on the wait list, your absences will not count against you. But either way, especially if there's a course that you're extremely keen on attending, we do recommend that you attend it while you're on the wait list and talk to the professor. And like I mentioned, courses can be added and dropped until 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, February 27th. And of course, as I mentioned, have extra courses pre-approved just in case. We will be sending out as well the arrival form for the program. If you are arriving to Prague on the official arrival date of Monday, January 27th, then we are able to pick you up from the airport and make sure that you have transportation to the dorms. And now I say airport, also if you're arriving by train or by bus, we can pick you up from the train station, the bus station. The important thing is that after we send you the arrival details form, that you send this out, fill it out and send it to us at least by January 2nd. And this is so we have ample time to process any information we need. And as well, if you are unsure if we received your arrival details, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. The sooner you do that and confirm that we have received your details, the better, as especially if there are any connection issues while you're filling out the form. We want to make sure that we're getting the information so that we can get you to the dorm on time. And one thing to keep in mind as well is that if you are arriving on any date besides Monday, January 27th, say for instance, you want to see Prague a little bit ahead of time, you want to see the city with your parents maybe, and you arrive in Prague a few days early, we will not be able to arrange transportation for you to the dorm. So please make sure that you are arriving on the official arrival date if you want us to arrange transportation for you. And as well, please do not arrive after this date. This is the day that you should arrive at the dorms in Prague to meet with ECES staff. And so on the arrival date, ECES staff will be waiting for you in the dorm lobby with your housing package. There you'll have to fill out just a few housekeeping forms, and as well we'll help you get settled into the dorms. There will be dorm tours throughout the day just to get you a little bit acclimated with the dorm facilities. As you can see here, I think if I think the audience view might be stuck a little bit, but on the slide that I'm on right now, you can see here is an example of one of the double rooms that we have at our dorms. Yeah, I think it just switched over. Yeah, so this is an example of the double rooms that we have at the dorms. And so they're pretty spacious, I would say, compared to most dorm rooms, at least compared to my undergraduate dorm room. I'll show you in a second, but they're connected to larger suite areas that have a small kitchenette, etc., as well as a bathroom that you share with your suite mates. But so for the arrival date, you will need your passport to check in at the front desk, as well as to fill out forms needed by the foreign police. So after you've landed, don't put away your passport just yet. You're going to have to take it out to fill out some forms. And this is something to keep in mind while you're packing, but sheets and towels are provided for you at the dormitory. So you don't need to overpack or anything like this. Like, we understand that you're probably going to buy a lot of things while you're here as well. And so we don't want you to overpack your suitcase or anything like this. You can always use the sheets and the towels that are provided by the dorm. You can bring your own if you like, although, like I said, don't overpack. And as well, a lot of smaller toiletries like soap, body wash, shower gel, things like this, you can buy after you get over here. There are plenty of supermarkets, especially in the area where your dorm is located, so don't worry about overpacking on these things. And one thing to also keep in mind is we really do not recommend in any way, shape, or form bringing hair dryers or hair straighteners, as the voltage on these devices generally, if you're buying it in North America, will not work with the voltage in the Czech Republic. So we highly recommend that if you're interested in bringing one of these devices, that you purchase it after you have arrived to Prague. And there are a lot of places where you can get cheap options for these. So please, if you have any questions about this, reach out, for recommendations for shopping or anything like that. But it's probably a nightmare situation if you're trying to use one of these devices and then suddenly it catches on fire or breaks or something like this or shocks you. So please leave hair dryers and hair straighteners at home. Past this. So as you can see here now, once the slide switches over for you, you can see the suite area for the dorm rooms. So as I mentioned before, there's a small kitchenette area complete with a sink, cupboards, a small refrigerator, and a hot plate. Within the rooms themselves, there aren't full kitchens, but we do have a number of communal kitchens throughout the dorm. There are a few that are used by students that use the dorm who are part of other programs maybe. There are a lot of international students and even Czech students who stay at the dorm. And so they'll use a few of these community kitchens, but we do have one kitchen/lounge that is only for ECES students. And these kitchens are fully stocked with utensils and pots and pans, etc. Although the kitchenettes in your suite are not. One thing we really do ask is please do not steal utensils and pots and pans from the communal kitchens for your kitchenettes. There are a lot of places, including IKEA or Tesco, where you can buy cheap utensils. So if you're interested in using your own suite to cook, we recommend doing this, but please do not take utensils from the communal kitchens. Also, breakfast is provided Monday through Friday by a wonderful kitchen staff. And it's a light continental European breakfast. So it's a lot of deli slices, meats, cheeses, vegetables, pastries, breads, yogurt, etc., granola. So this is available to you Monday through Friday if you want to save some money and stop in, grab some breakfast while you're on your way to courses. So also for this, our wonderful kitchen staff do take recommendations. If there's like anything that they're missing after you get here that you're like, oh, I think this wouldn't be too hard to get. But please keep in mind there's no like French toast or waffles or pancakes or anything like this. So sorry, I've included here the dorm address for any of you who are wondering about it. This is as well on the visa application form that we filled out earlier. But just in case you're wondering about it, this is the address. And so we're gonna peek at where the dorm is located within Prague itself. So right here is the center of Prague. As you can see here to the right side of the river, there are two pins. And so these are the two course buildings that are the main locations for ECES courses. While on the left side, there are a few pins. We're going to zoom in a little bit so I can show you exactly where the dorm is here. So the pin marked Parežova is the dorm itself. This is not in the historical center technically, although it's only about a 10-minute walk from Prague Castle, excuse me. And as well, located in one of the more residential areas of Prague. So you're really getting a Czech experience here. But as you can see, we've marked as well the Pohořelice tram stop. And from here, it's only about a 12-minute tram ride to courses. So regrettably, like you might be used to if you live at the dorms on campus back home, you can't just roll out of bed and walk to class in about 5 minutes. It'll probably be about like 15 minutes, give or take a few minutes to commute to your courses, which, like I said, are the two pins on the right side of the river. Excuse me, sorry. And past this, it's extremely easy as well to walk down past the Hradčany, the Prague Castle, if you do want to see a little bit of the historical center. So It's extremely easy to get to the places that I think a lot of people deem the fairy tale parts of Prague. We already spoke a bit about orientation already, but like I said, just to kind of wrap it up, the arrival day is Monday, January 27th. And so most of the day, up until about 4 or 5, ETSA staff will be at the dorms to help you check in. If you cannot make it by about 4:30 p.m., please let ETSA staff know so that we can prepare for it and make sure that we catch you with these forms, etc., ahead of time. And in the evenings, we'll have some meet and greets options at local restaurants. We'll make reservations for you for dinner, and we'll have probably 2 groups of students going either at 5:30 or at 7:30 to these restaurants where you can buy yourself some Czech food like goulash or svíčková and some pivo, of course, and meet everyone else who is in the program. And so these are optional, but of course, we highly recommend this, and especially since you're probably going to be a bit tired from traveling all day, it'll be really nice to sit down and have some food and meet everybody. And past this on Tuesday, like I mentioned, this is going to be most of our housekeeping. On Wednesday, this is going to be the fun stuff of the scavenger hunt through the city, more city tour, as well as the ice skating. And then on Thursday and Friday are our mandatory trips. Like I said, keep an eye out for my email on trip registration. And for Monday through Friday of the next 2 weeks are going to be your Czech language course. And so just to kind of visualize it for you, here is the schedule for the first month, about the first 5 weeks. So like I said, the first week is orientation, next 2 weeks are the Czech language course, and then from there classes will start, and these first 2 weeks are going to be the add drop period. So although you can add and drop courses at any time, like I said, from December to February at the end of the add drop period on the 27th, especially like once courses actually get started and you start to get a handle on them, this is when you're going to realize which courses you actually want to take, etc. Especially if you're worried about getting off the list for a course, the wait list, this will be when that happens. And so we're also going to be having a lot of optional trips and activities through the semester for you that you can sign up for during the registration period for trips. And so just a few examples of trips that we've had in the past are weekend trips to Budapest, hiking trips to Český Ráj, which is known as the Bohemian Paradise, a day trip to Dresden, and a few other events like film screenings and tours of important radio stations about Prague. And as well, each week in the program, our cultural coordinator, Susanna, will be hosting cafe and gallery excursions to local museums and art openings. So these are going to be free events that we'll have on our ECES website after you arrive here. And additionally, we'll be announcing other ballet, theater, and opera performances that we will offer through the semester as well. And these will be announced on a case-by-case basis, whereas things like the Budapest and Dresden trips will be on the website to register for during the registration period. And so just a few last things before I let you all go. To prepare, because you're probably getting a bit excited now, just do a bit of research on the country. You're going to be here for about 3 to 4 months. So it always helps to look up a little bit on the history and the politics of this country that you're going to be calling home. Especially you don't want to come off as completely ignorant to any of your new Czech friends. So this is a good thing to do ahead of time. And as well, start learning the language. Get a head up on the Czech language course. There are a few options for you. Memrise and Duolingo are both 2 apps that you can use. I know Duolingo is extremely popular with people, and they recently added their Czech language course, especially to their phone application. So we recommend doing this. And keep in mind too, that Czech culture might be a bit different from what you're used to in North America, especially if you've never been to Europe before. Tipping culture is a bit different because people are paid a living wage for waitressing and waiters and other restaurant jobs and everything. Tipping isn't as customary, or if it is, really you only tip about 10% max, or otherwise just round up. Say if your bill comes out to be something like 165 crowns, you'll just say, oh, like, sorry, you can just have 170, it's okay. That's normal. And so just to kind of give you an example, Czech crowns, $1 is about 23 Czech crowns. So you're paying for under, $8 if you're paying 200 crowns. So, if your bill is 193, you can just say, oh, just take 200. And that's just $8 and it's normal. Openness to strangers. One thing you'll notice is that at first glance, Czech people may not be the most open if you don't know them. People won't smile at you on the street. In fact, if you smile at somebody on the street, they'll probably think you're a bit strange. So this isn't because they're trying to be rude or anything like this, or that they don't like you. It's just that this is what they're used to. People in public are a lot more closed off and reserved, but of course, after you get to know somebody, they're normal people. And after this as well, if you're not used to living in a larger city, say you're from Kansas or I don't know, like parts of Massachusetts or Connecticut or something like this, you might not be used to taking public transportation, but it is everything here. And so you're going to get used to riding on the trams and the subways. The good thing is that I promise, compared to a lot of other cities in Europe, like Berlin or Paris, the public transportation here is extremely easy to get used to, but we'll also help you with that after you arrive here. We really don't recommend taking taxis, especially because they can generally take advantage of people through fare. If you don't know your way around the city, they might take a longer route to wherever they're trying to get you to and run up the meter. So really, we generally don't recommend taking taxis. And as well, Uber is technically illegal here, so please don't try to take Uber after you've arrived. Public transit will get you most anywhere you need to go. And we'll also give you a quick little workshop during our orientation meeting about how to properly read the public transit, so don't worry about it right now. And practical things to keep in mind before you get over here. Please call your credit card company and bank and let them know you're going to be here, as well as any other countries you might be traveling to in Europe. It's probably the scariest thing if you get here and then suddenly you can't access your bank account or your credit card or anything like this. So please let them know ahead of time that you're going to be here so they don't cut you off from your money. That is absolutely terrifying, let me tell you. After this, like I mentioned, the exchange rate is approximately $1 to 23 Czech crowns. And one thing to keep in mind also before you get here, you should buy European plug adapters ahead of time. You can find them here, but of course, since people usually buy appliances here that work with the outlets here, it's better to find them on Amazon or at a local electronics store near you before you get here. And please also mind the difference between not only European and UK adapters, but keep in mind to look for adapters that will work in the Czech Republic, as there are a few countries that have different options. So just make sure you know what you're getting before you buy it. And also, you can apply for an ISIC card, an International Student Identification Card, before you arrive here. And that'll usually let you get a few discounts on things like museums and traveling. And so it does cost a bit of money, but we recommend doing this because in the long run, it will save you a lot with discounts. Although you should be applying for this through your home university rather than through Charles University. And that way also, you can use it when you go home as well. You can check what kind of discounts they allow at www.isic.org. And so that's about all I have for you. So for anyone who is still here in the chat room, please let me know if you have any final questions. You can take the time right now to start typing them out while I'm kind of giving my final remarks. And for everybody, I'm going to be sending out a follow-up email in just 1 second to all of you after I have uploaded this video to YouTube. So like I said, you can check out this YouTube video at any point you want, just to reference it. So we have a really good question actually in the chat box here. So the question is, if we choose to take a course at Charles University that's not part of the ECES program, will the end date still be May 17th? Most likely no, is the answer. Please, if you are interested specifically in a course that is not available through the ECES program, but is instead offered through the faculty, through the university, through another program, please email me as soon as you can. So this way we can get in touch with the professor and see if we would be able to get you into this course. We cannot guarantee spots in any course that are outside the program for you, of course, mostly because the schedules differ. But every semester, we always have a number of students who are taking courses outside of the program. So it's extremely doable. It's just important that we get it figured out ahead of time. So please send me an email with the courses you might be interested in, and we can definitely figure it out. But that's a great question, great question. Yeah, and so, like I mentioned, we'll be uploading this to YouTube, so you can reference it at any point. In the meantime as well, I don't know if, oh yeah, we didn't have it on this final slide, but I'll be sending it out in the email. Please join the ECES Facebook group, as well as the alumni Facebook group. This is a good place to not only ask questions for us, but also to connect with your fellow students who are going to be here abroad. Especially you can start making travel plans or see if there's anyone from your home university going. I'll include this in the follow-up email in just a second. Other than that, thank you all for attending, and I hope you're getting a bit excited for the program. Thank you all for attending, and I'll see you in Prague.